The heavy brass key felt cold in my hand as I pushed the front door open. I expected to find an empty, dusty house filled with old furniture and fading memories. Instead, my breath caught in my throat as I stepped into the warm living room. Someone was actively living in this house, and they had left everything behind in a hurry. 3 large couches were arranged neatly around a wooden coffee table that was covered in open books. Colorful sweaters hung over the backs of the chairs and several pairs of small shoes rested by the doorway. My mind raced as I tried to process why a family would be occupying the secret property of my late husband. Dozens of vibrant crayon drawings were taped securely across the walls, showing bright flowers and smiling stick figures. Above the fireplace stood a row of framed photographs featuring young women and laughing children whom I had never seen before. There was not a single picture of me anywhere in the entire room, which made my stomach twist with sudden panic. My mind immediately flashed back to 3 weeks ago, when this entire nightmare began on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. The local police knocked on my door at exactly 4 in the afternoon to deliver the devastating news. They explained that the vehicle Raymond was driving had veered off the road near the mountain pass, killing him instantly. We had been married for 15 peaceful years in a quiet suburban neighborhood where nothing unusual ever happened. Raymond worked diligently as an accountant while I managed the financial ledgers for a local hardware store in town. Our routine was entirely predictable and comfortable, until he started spending 3 days a week out in the countryside. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday Raymond would leave our home before dawn, claiming he needed to maintain his family farm. When I asked to accompany him during our first year of marriage, his face turned incredibly pale and stern. He made me promise to never visit the property because he claimed the old structures were far too dangerous. Following the funeral, his elderly attorney Mr. Davis requested an urgent meeting at his office downtown to discuss the estate. We sat in quiet leather chairs while he explained that the apartment and our savings would pass directly to me. Then he reached into his wooden desk drawer and pulled out a heavy silver key ring. Mr. Davis explained that the mysterious farm belonged to me now, but his eyes held a strange look of deep sorrow. He urged me to visit the property in person before making any hasty decisions about selling the land. He hinted that Raymond was a highly complicated man who kept significant secrets from the rest of the world. After a week of intense curiosity, I finally drove 2 hours into the rural countryside to locate the hidden property. The estate was massive, featuring a beautiful main house to pristine barns and several well-maintained outbuildings. I unlocked the front door with a trembling hand, completely unprepared for the shocking discovery waiting for me inside. As I stood frozen in the hallway, a distinct floorboard creaked directly above my head, followed by a soft whisper. Fear gripped my chest as I realized that I was not alone in this isolated house. I called out into the silence, stating that the property belonged to me and that I would call the authorities. A young girl with tangled blonde hair and red eyes slowly emerged at the top of the wooden staircase. She appeared to be no older than 16 years old, and her entire body was shaking with absolute terror. She sobbed quietly and begged me not to call the police because Raymond had promised they would be safe. An older woman with dark hair and defensive eyes stepped out from a nearby bedroom to shield the frightened teenager. She demanded to know my identity, and I quickly explained that I was the wife of the late Raymond. The revelation caused the older woman to turn completely pale as she realized Raymond had a secret family. The woman introduced herself as Sylvia and explained that she had been living at the farmhouse for 3 years. She revealed that Raymond used the remote property as a secret sanctuary for vulnerable women escaping dangerous situations. He provided shelter, food, and safety to those who had absolutely nowhere else to turn in their lives. Sylvia mentioned that another young mother named Chloe was currently away at a medical appointment with her infant child. The quiet accountant whom I married had been operating an underground network of safety while keeping me completely in the dark. Suddenly Jean gasped loudly as she looked out the window and saw a dusty truck approaching the house. Sylvia looked outside and her face lost all color as she identified the driver as Thomas Vance. She explained that Thomas was the abusive stepfather of Jean, and he would certainly harm the girl if he discovered her. I told Sylvia to hide the teenager in the upstairs closet immediately while I went down to handle the confrontation. I stepped out onto the front porch and closed the heavy door tightly behind me to block his view. A massive, threatening man stepped out of the truck and demanded to know if a young blonde girl was hiding inside. I held my ground and firmly stated that I had just inherited the empty property from my husband. Thomas Vance narrowed his eyes and took a step forward, attempting to intimidate me into letting him enter the house. I raised my phone and threatened to contact the sheriff immediately if he did not leave my private property. He sneered maliciously and remarked that country roads could be highly dangerous, noting that Raymond had suffered a tragic accident. The chilling implications sent shivers down my spine as I realized this man might have been involved in the crash. I stood firm until Thomas finally backed away, climbing into his truck and driving slowly down the driveway. Once he disappeared from sight, my knees buckled and I collapsed onto the porch steps, gasping for air. Sylvia came outside to comfort me, and then led me into a hidden office located at the back of the house. She revealed a secret compartment under the desk that contained the personal leather journal of Raymond and a stack of papers. My hands shook as I opened the book and began reading the neat, familiar handwriting of my husband. The entries revealed that Raymond had lost his younger sister named Patricia years ago to a violent and abusive partner. He started this secret sanctuary to honor her memory and save other women from suffering the exact same tragic fate. The final entries detailed terrifying notes about someone leaving surveillance photographs under his apartment door just days before his death. Sitting in that quiet office, I realized that Raymond had been trying to protect both me and these vulnerable women. The sudden death of my husband was no accident, but his legacy of kindness and protection could not be allowed to die with him. I looked at Sylvia and Zhang, knowing that I would now use my inheritance to keep this sanctuary alive forever.